Hello and a very, very good evening, Tayao, is what I'd say if I cared. I hope you are good. I'm good as well. If it's your first time watching BoxPod, I hope you have hit the subscribe button. Notification also, so that when the episode comes out, I don't have just 6,000 people watched it, although I'm grateful. A lot of you have been in my DMs asking me, Kwambooks, what the hell is going on? Where's Kerry? Where's Joyce? Let me do this again. So I know we started this podcast together. As things would happen, Joyce needed to take a sabbatical and Kerry moved cities. Until further notice, I'm by myself on this pod. I hope that suffices. I know I miss them, but now why we do it? Anyway, first things first. How was your week? How was your weekend? I had such an awesome one. But I want to start by getting something off my chest. In Kenya, motorcycles were not really this popular. In fact, the word boda boda initially wasn't a motorbike. Boda boda was actually a bicycle initially, right? And just like the word says, it was between bodas. You'd never find bodas like in the city center. Then something happened somewhere. A lot of ndudis got imported. I wouldn't be surprised if a politician is involved or a businessman who was just sharp. And what ended up happening? A lot of motorbikes came into the city. Right? I love motorbikes. Do you know the kind of convenience we have experienced since Ndudi Gang? Okay, let me not call them Ndudi Gang, but since motorbikes explosion happened in Kenya. For example, I don't need to go to the supermarket. I literally just and things come to my door. If I need food, same thing. If I need to do a delivery, maybe an outfit was being shown out, I don't need to sit there until the guy is done. I'm just like, when you're done, put it on Ndudi, send it to the house. Right? And so many conveniences that ndudis and motorbikes have afforded us, bodas. But then somewhere there, guys, we lost the plot. In fact, I feel like this good thing ended up being a monster. Yep, I said it, a monster. You know, you guys are quick to forget, right? Last week, there was a story, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, somewhere on Thika Road. An Audi was on the road, an accident happened, and what happened next? Run the tape. Yep. Okay, ignore the guy who's playing his music in his car. There, look at that, guys. Look at that. They literally touched the car right there and then on the spot. Okay? Now, do accidents happen? Fuck yeah! That's why we have seat belts, safety signs, indicators. Things happen. That's why we take insurance. Because fuck, things happen on the road. But guys, since Ndudi Gang joined the road, you are not allowed to make any goddamn mistake on the road. Literally, if you're a driver today, God forbid you touch Ndudi. You're fucked. Now, the reason I'm chomoing this thing from my chest is because, look, anybody who went to driving school, what did they teach you in driving school? Because that shit it means nothing out here. Yeah? You'll be on your lane. What is a lane? You could be on this side with Ndudi and on this side on Ndudi. And if you try you could be burned alive. And if you think this is a joke, right? I want to screw you back to a couple of years. I think it was like 5 years ago, because that's how quick time flies, right? There was a babe who was on Pangani. She was at the underpass, right? She was just at the roundabout. And God forbid she touched Ndudi. What happened next? The lady was almost lynched in traffic by Ndudi guys. The whole nation was upset. Oh, these Ndudi guys have become, and then we kept quiet. Now, you're probably watching this on your Jirani's phone because a Ndudi gang stole your phone because you were trying to pick it. Guys, things are dire. And so what I'm trying to say is I feel like Ndudi gang has overtaken us. I don't even think Gava can control them. And you know, do I have a problem with people having their motorbikes and running their business? Absolutely not. In fact, it has helped a lot of vijana. Sindio, a lot of homes have been built from Ndudis. But to have this, not have a system, and then at some point they were going to be put in circles, right? And there you could be able to see other guys from that circle and But now we don't know. If you happen to get into an altercation or with a Nduthi guy in traffic, ole wako. All I'm saying is, Gava needs to step in. Yeah, I said it. Like, for real. Before this thing gets completely out of hand, and when I say completely, I know you guys know I can be kind of like a prophet, right? What I saw on Thika Road that day is people using their frustration, right? Because who makes Nduthi guys the judge, jury, and executioner? Honestly. See, accident imefanyika. Okay, I know that the person died, but isn't there laws? And please, Gava, watu wa security, please at any point kick in and do the right thing. Because the only reason people will be taking matters into their own hands is because they know your hands are busy. I said what I said. Now that I got that off my chest, wow, guys, I had such a fantastic, I think these past 2 weekends I've really been enjoying myself. The weekend prior I told you about, I went to Blankets. I mean, it wasn't a total bust, but you know, it wasn't like the best experience. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 or yeah. But I tried again. So this last weekend, the culture came to life. If you missed this, unajua kuna wengine wenu mnajuanga juu ya concert after it has happened. Well, it's why you have me, okay? So, you know, a lot of throwback parties have been going down, right? And it was such a good one to see because everybody usually copies the same thing. Oh, throwback R&B. Oh, throwback this, throwback that. But to see Kenyan throwback, and someone who has done industry night. If you don't know what industry night is, only the biggest platform for Kenyan industry to gather. It was such a good thing to see some artists who I have never seen live like this. In fact, let me show you some clips. Run the tape. Yep, there you have P Unit, Zgabu standing with Prezo, right? Nameless. Oh, this was a good tribute, man. This was a solid tribute. Yes. You know what? There were many other performances. If you don't know, Kleptomaniacs performed. Yes, not just Nyashinsky, najua mezoea. He's different when he's with his crew. He's a different guy, right? And that was a good show. Habib and Manga. Man, you know, the last time I saw Habib and Manga was at an industry night where we're doing a tribute for Issa, right? Them performing on stage. Where else? I also saw Ndaling P. I know Gen Z asking, Kwambo sasa Ndaling P ni nani? Ata Habib na Manga ni akina nani? These are artists who were hits back in the day. Like, you know, Nameless wasn't the only artist from back in the day. He's just the guy who has refused to retire. But there were so many other artists, including this guy, Mr. Lenny. And he performed some of his old school hits. Now, let me tell you why I was excited. First, because this was the only gig I've ever been to where the majority of people were 80s and above. Like, you're born 80s and above, right? It was so crazy. Like, yeah, I met a few Gen Zs who were like, oh, they were excited to be there. But I'm so sure that a lot of the songs were just pitting them like, shwa, shwa, shwa. Number two, it kind of drizzled. So you can hear I'm sniffling right now, right? So chances are your bosses, everybody, people's mzaes, guys were, because it was cold and it drizzled. And you know what, even like, I think I was standing there at like 1:30. I remember I said this time, your blankets, that I don't like to be out too late because I just say, oh my God, now I'm zoning out. My dopamine is like, yo, me, I gotta go. This ain't dope anymore. But like at this concert, I had to go and tell somebody because, you know, there were no seats. Like, it was, you know, there's the, and then there's the, and I'm like, but you know, these are like mostly millennial kwenda juu. Weka kiti kila pahali, but guys, simamad. Me, I had to find a seat somewhere. I sat down, I enjoyed myself, and I had a good time. But it was such a good night for Kenyan throwback music. And you know what it taught us? I think there was like maybe 5,000 plus people at that venue. Shout out to Mr. Fakiliwali. We need another one before the end of the year. But it wasn't only happening in Kenya. In Uganda, this man from back in the 2000s, king of hip hop, I think in Uganda, had a huge show. And he didn't just do any show, he did a show with a whole orchestra. Who am I talking about? Navio. Run the tape. That's what you call a show right there. Shout out to Navio. Shout out to Ugandans. People clearly turned up, and guess what? There's this clip I had to share. Of course, you know me. I got to bring you some clips, right? Because I saw a similar incident. So here in Nairobi, another 2000s group, while Navi was killing it in Uganda, there was Sanaipe, Tande, and Juakali who did the song Kwaheri, right? And it's such a big hit. So when you see them performing it, they just look like brother and sister. You know, they're just there. There's a time Juakali tried to pull her in and they did this performance, but you could see Sana was keeping her distance. But not in Uganda and not with Cindy. Yo, watch this. Run the tape. Look at Navi, you're trying to like look anywhere else. Watch this. Come on. Bwana wenyewe ameshtuka. This girl is a beast, man. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Navio. Shout out to Uganda. That's what was happening. While Kenya was hot here with the culture, Uganda was all shut down by the king himself. And the king herself, Cindy, she calls herself King Cindy. I can't wait to go for a big concert. I've hosted a few concerts in Uganda, but I'd love to attend a concert. I might maybe come for Nyege Nyege. Anywho. Now, let's bring it back to, now that we finished with Kenya and Uganda. You know, Kenya and Uganda, that's what was happening on the weekend. But do you know what was happening in Cameroon? No. Do you really know what was happening in Cameroon? If you don't know, run the tape. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing... And you're Cameroon, you guys need help. So what we're watching, the president was supposed to be going for a political rally, right? You can stop that. So Paul Biya, who's the Cameroonian president, was supposed to be at a political rally because, you know, he's running for elections. They're in election year, and of course he is front runner, right? But he couldn't make it to the rally. So what did he do? It's like, what to me, a statue. He sent them statues of himself to represent him. And the people represented, right? But, okay, Cameroon, I need to talk to you guys. You guys know? What's the cutoff age for a president? Like, I know the minimum age you need to be for you to become a president, right? But what is the oldest age that you can't be? Because isn't the guy 91? 91. 9. 1. He's a nanogenarian. Aye. You want to tell me there's nobody in Cameroon who can be president? Like, what's going on? Like, when Cameroon, you guys see us doing the Gen Z movement, young people going on the streets. What's happening? Anyway, I'm not the only one who's asking these questions. His own daughter has joined the fray. She's even telling guys, please don't vote for him. Watch this. Run the tape.
Brenda Biya, daughter of Cameroon's longtime president Paul Biya, has publicly called on citizens not to vote for her father in the country's upcoming October 2025 election. In a TikTok live broadcast from Switzerland, the 27-year-old, known by her stage name King Nasty, said Cameroonians have endured poverty, unemployment, and stagnation during her father's 43 years in power. The dramatic intervention marks the first time in Africa that the child of a sitting president has openly urged voters to oppose their parent. Brenda accused her family of mistreating her, claiming they had abandoned her and even wanted her dead. She declared she will cut all ties with her parents and expressed hope for another president to lead Cameroon. At 92 years old, Paul Biya is one of the world's longest-serving leaders, having ruled the Central African nation since 1982.
Since 1982. 1982? And before I was born. Like, this man has been the president, 42 years, my guy. I feel like even some of your parents weren't even born, right? That's so crazy. Okay, I don't want to talk too much because I was there when Moi was a president. And I used to ask this question, like, will this guy never, like, he'll never, like, we knew that Moi would never leave the seat. Like, when I was in primary school, we were so afraid of the man. We knew he would die on the seat. Like, that's legit. I'm telling you the truth, right? Me as a millennial, like, even as I was getting to high school, I knew that Moi was going to be the president forever. So, when I remember Yote Awezekana as if it was just yesterday. You know, it was such a euphoric moment. You know, I'm kind of jealous for Cameroon because the day they get a new president, my guy will be better than sex. But here's the thing, right? Hey, West Africa. You know, I don't want to say much because Uganda is watching. But this is what I'll say, right? 91. Going to a presidential election, right? It's happening this month, right? Do you think this guy will win? Do you think Cameroon is going to listen to the daughter? I don't think so. Girl is called King Nasty. King Nasty. I'm sure the parents are not even listening to her. Anyway, point is, in West Africa, a lot of the continent right now, especially young Africans, are looking towards Mali, are looking towards, you know, is it Sierra Leone? No. Nani anatoka wapi Traore? Burkina Faso. Jesus Christ. The Burkinabes are watching us right now. You know, there's a whole movement happening there. But then, Cameroon has a president for 91 years. I mean, Africa's problems are nuanced like that, right? But at the same time, there's another country there called Equatorial Guinea, right? I don't want to get too deep into it, but these African presidents' children are something. Did you know about the African president's son who was locked up because he tried to sell the national carrier? Yeah. Yes. The president of Equatorial Guinea's son was locked up was found guilty because he tried to sell a plane from the national carrier. Yani one tu yani tatu tuseme leo mtoi wa Ruto atrai kuuza plane moja tuseme jet ya president inaitwaje hiyo Air Force One auze. It's so crazy. Anyway, so that's happening. But you know what? I like what President Obama said about this issue. I want to say so many things, but I'll let my friend Obizi tell you what it is. Run the tape.
So we can help them to bend the moral.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, you know. Also, especially young people, because it's fair to say that 80% of the world's problems involve old men hanging on and who are afraid of death and insignificance, and they won't let go. And you know, they build pyramids and they put their names on everything, and they're very anxious about it.
So we can help them.
Yeah. So if you're ever wondering, because there's people who ask questions like, kwani you never get enough? How choky? You know? Like, when you want to die on this thing? Like, how much can you steal? In the words of Barack Obama, now you understand that mtu anaweza fika age pali hata anajiuliza, now after this, what am I going to do? And that's why the guy is holding on to it. So I'm just thinking we need to come up with like we need to make it look like retirement is a really cool thing. Like old people just chilling is a cool thing, because when old people see their fellow old friends and they're like, yeah, you want me to leave this to do what you're doing? Nah. But if they could see there's a club for old people where they're just like, you know, and enjoying, like they can tell each other stories, I guess they'd chill, you know, like a club for sponios. Maybe they'd leave the power, you know, because this is crazy. Anyway, Cameroon is hot. Now, I want to talk about something that when I was growing up, we used to say this about Americans. You know, they'd show us videos and, you know, you'd see this, and you'd be like, it's because of what they're eating, you know? But now, Yo, the other day I was in a supermarket. I saw this kid. You know that one you even want to call the parent and just be like, no, you need to stop feeding this kid. Mazena, no, Jaden is still there. You can see Amanda straight to the mommy. We need the sausages. We need the hot dogs. We need the. I'm like, Jonte. This Jaden anafaa kufungua mdomo. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't eat. I know that there's diseases and stuff like that because of the stuff we eat. Oh, you think I'm playing? Run the tape.
Is the KFC that you're eating making you sick? You see, in 2023, over 2,640 people died, and it was related to antibiotic resistance. That was a 10% increase when compared to 2019. Now, when we're talking about chickens at KFC, we're talking about broiler chickens. These are selectively bred to grow faster than they ordinarily would have previously. And this often results in chickens developing diseases that requires them to be inoculated with antibiotics again and again and again. But let's look at the statistics. 18.7 million chickens in 2024 presented with diseases. That was compared to just 18.3 million in 2022. What does this mean? It means more chickens are getting more diseased. And as a result, farmers are forced to give them even more antibiotics. Now, of these 18.7 million chickens, over 9 million presented with cellulitis, over 8 million presented with abscesses. We're talking about their limbs becoming soaked, building up with fluid. And then you'd also have to look at how many of them get burns on their legs because they're lying in their own feces because their legs can no longer support their weight. Why is this happening? KFC dropped its commitment to use slower growing, healthier chickens because it was too expensive and they couldn't make enough. So what if we moved to a system where farmers were rewarded instead for using slower growing chickens that were better for our planet, perhaps better for our health, and better for you, the consumer, instead of these fast growing types? Let us know what you think and follow Nova for more.
Okay. So, of course, that's not in Kenya, right? But you know, like I always say, ukiona cha mwenzako chanyolewa, tia chako maji, right? K in KFC doesn't stand for Kenya's favorite chicken. That's not what it stands for, right? This is a brand that's all over the world. In fact, fun fact, as we're speaking right now, I think in Denmark, KFC has been banned, right? Why? They saw some irregularities in how they were treating their kitchens, their chicken, and so on and so forth, right? This is Europe. It's not Kenya, right? Now, is this conversation about KFC? Nah, I'm talking about, now it's about KFC, Kenya's favorite chicken, which is not longer the roadrunner, it is now the broiler. Now, if you go to all the chicken spots have you ever gone to see how cuckoos are raised? No, I'm not talking about roadrunner. I'm talking about broiler. The ones you love, right? And broiler predominantly is loved because, one, you don't have time to boil the hell out of the kienyeji. You don't have to boil the experience out of the cuckoo before you can eat it. You know what I'm saying? Right? So it's chop. You can deep fry it quickly. It's quad. Number two, you love it because it grows quickly. Farmers love the shit out of broilers, man. You know? Now, I think it was about 2-3 years ago, I met a farmer, right, who refused to sell me a cuckoo. Why? Because she had just put antibiotics. And she knows that it's supposed to stay a couple of days before the cuckoo can be killed and consumed. But how many people will tell you that? In the most anti-corrupt country in the world, where there's ethics and integrity, Kenya. Ile kuku yenye unanunua, inatoka ngapi? Do you know how much antibiotics that cuckoo has? Do you remember there was a time in Kenya they said Kenyans are having antibiotics resistance? Why? Okay, you are told to stop buying antibiotics off the counter, right? But, pena kukula kuku sana. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that I hope our leaders protect us, which I know they don't, but I think we need to be more in tune with what it is that we're consuming, because when you read headlines when you see other people shutting this same stuff down, you're like, but I've never had anybody talk about it here. Why? Why should they talk about it? Anyway, go and read about this. Something good can come from social media. I love the communities that are being built on social media. Our last episode, we had a chat with Sendai, the guy from Nani's Cafe. And I remember he talked about the community that Gen Z are thriving in, that they love the idea of having communities, of building so that you can connect, right? As a millennial, one of the things that we really fought was community, because it was like the first time you are becoming an individual, right? I'll speak for myself. And then to hear Gen Z now are all about community is so refreshing. It just means that human beings are never satisfied with the spaces that they are. We get bored of it, we want the next thing. Anyway, so social media, for the longest time I've been saying it's no longer social, but TikTok keeps amazing me. Actually, can I tell you something fun? TikTok has fast become my favorite platform. Because on TikTok, I feel like I'm watching normal people, just average people, everyday people telling their everyday stories. It could be like a rich person, it could be a poor person, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares what you have on TikTok. Just tell the story. If you're interesting, good. If you're not, bye, right? But Instagram wasn't like that, man. Instagram just became like a fashion show. Now you can't even post at your photo at your woken up at, look at this nice something. I have to think about, are the lights correct? Is this in trend? Is that the right color? Is my camera okay? So I kind of like TikTok. But this took me to a whole other level. Let me show you why I love TikTok. I ran into this story and I was just like, this is why we need community. Kenyans on TikTok apparently are planning to build an ultra-modern hospital offering healthcare for Kenyans. Free healthcare. Now, isn't that amazing? I mean, think about it. Every time Eric Omondi had shown that there's somebody who needs help, didn't people raise funds? If we put all those funds together and we decide, let's put this hospital here where Kenyans can have access for healthcare for free, isn't that amazing? But I want to challenge Kenyans. This community efforts that we have, that we can be able to come together and be able to build a hospital, we can also hold our leaders accountable. Because this country has a lot of money. We have a fucking lot of money, right? Do you remember the president telling us how much money do we lose every day? Run the tape. 2 billion. 2 billion. 2 billion. How much do you think this hospital will take to build? We can literally every day build a hospital in every county. Right? But that's not the real issue. The issue is that there are just people here who feel like it's their birthright to eat from us, right? And then us as diligent Kenyans, we pay their taxes, we pay their salaries, we pay for their school fees, right? School fees. And then we go now take out the little money we have to go and build another hospital. I like the idea. It's great. But if we could just hold our leaders accountable, my guy, everybody would have access to healthcare. As if that's not enough, let's go to India. This is TikTok, man. This is what TikTok community does, man. This is a pool, one of the most popular pools, deep pools that people like coming to tour. Like, it has historical background. Well, TikTokers were on a place Nazini chafu. So they came together. They said, let's clean this place. Run the tape. Look at that. You see what happens when people just come together and decide we're going to clean this up. Do you remember me having an argument with Lotan here when I was telling him people should just hold each other's hands and just do the thing? Because once they see that how it's done, that you won't allow that place to get as dirty as it was. Anybody who's going to come and use this space will not allow it to go back to where it was because they've seen a different kind of thing. So I really admire this, and I hope this rubs off on everybody who's on TikTok or you've got your own small community. What can you do? And if you say, us we're poor, we don't have anything, those are 60 people who just shikanad mkono and went and chopped things up, right? And made it happen. So I want to challenge you. You in your community, what are you doing? We're about to have a box spot excursion. Last year I said we're going to plant trees, but make sure you keep it right here. I'll tell you what it is that we're going to be doing next week. But In Kenya, one of the biggest things our president talks about is housing. I'm sure even when he's sleeping, he's just like, oh, I must give Kenyans housing. Honestly, it's like one of his big 4 programs. In fact, even in the previous government he was in, it was one of the big 4 agenda, housing. Because it's critical. A lot of Africans in Kenya do not have housing, right? So, and affordable housing for that, not just housing. It's not that in Kenya there are no houses. There are houses, but they're not affordable for most people, right? So if the government doesn't put effort to build affordable houses, a lot of people end up living in slums and things like that, which is not good for the city. It's not good for the country. Anyway, so he decided to make it like a big thing. Our taxes, in fact, while I was earning a salary, it used to be slashed. There's a day I saw my paycheck. Guys, yeah, I was like, I better get a house. And then the worst part, they're telling us, yeah, it's not that when you pay, you'll get a house. It's not that when you pay, you'll get an invoice that will be telling you this is where you put your money. So nothing, you've just donated. Fuck! I hated that thing. I'm kind of glad that I quit my job, because it's not that I don't want Kenyans to have housing. Why does it have to come at my fucking expense? I'm already paying taxes. These roads we are niniring and everything, we are good, right? But is this the only way we can come up with housing and affordable housing? Why can't we borrow a leaf from Rwanda? I saw this story and I even thought it was lies. I had to call someone from Rwanda to ask them, is this real? So apparently, the Rwandan army builds free housing for Rwandans every year. And so far, they've built 5,000 houses. These are low-income houses, right? And you can see those are nice houses. Ama, what do we want? We want skyscrapers. All I'm trying to say is like, why can't we put NYS to build these houses? Why can't KDF be building these houses, right? Like, what? Why I gotta pay for the houses? Anyway, all I'm saying is, I like this project. Yeah, I like the project. So it's a good project. And there's somebody who asked, how does a small country be so mighty? And Rwanda, you guys need to show us your ways. You're small, so mighty. Anyway, I have a question. You know me, when I'm out there in public, you'll find me trying to hide my face. These 2 past weekends, I went for concerts. And legit, I'm finding myself trying to hide my face. Not because I'm famous. Because you just never know who the fuck is recording you. Somebody could be recording you with their glasses. They could be recording you with a phone that's on their button. Others just don't have no shame. They just be like this. Record you, right? Without your consent. I'm talking about without your consent. I'm not asking people who have asked you. I'm talking about without your consent. I keep seeing these videos in the States where they're like, no, as long as you're in public, you're free. It's public domain. You can't say, you can't capture my image. I didn't give you the right. It's public domain. I don't know whether that's the case here in Kenya. But there's a guy who lost his job. You know why? Run the tape.
Majina naitwa Rios na mimi ndo mwenye nilimrekodi Mr. Swale wakati wa kupeleka gari, lakini sikumposti akaenda viral hivyo. Kuna mtu alikuja akaiba jina yangu, account ya Insta, na akaiba picha yangu huko kwa Insta. Na video pia akatoa Insta alafu ndo akakuja akayatengeza TikTok account, akapost mwalimu. Lakini mimi niko hapa ili nimekuja kumwomba mwalimu msamaha ya kumrekodi wakati yenye alikuwa ajiwe. Sikuwa na hiyo intention ya kumfanya kwa viral hivyo. Sikuwa nao kabisa. Na ni mwalimu mzuri Mr. Swale, kusema kweli ni mwalimu mwenye anapendwa na watu wengi hapa. Ni mwalimu ni mtu watu tu, hata kwenye maona kwa video sivyo kwenye yuko. Hiyo ni ile kuwachangamsha tu.
Unajua venye uchali alipashwa. I'm sure Mr. Swale alikuwa, yani mimi huo unaweka kwa internet mtandao bila kuniambia. Because the instructor alikuwa anakula jaba akimpatia instructions. Maze, unajua your instructor is giving instructions but he's kulang jaba maze. Anyway, so he recorded this guy without his consent and then posted it, and it turns out the guy was fired. Now, Do you blame the guy who was recording him? Maniga haungekula jaba Salome amaliza kazi? Wait, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, the guy has come out because you know this is Coast. Hii ni Mombasa. Chances that anajua kwenu anasema mwana mtoto wako mtukutu huyo ameniweka mtandao. Wafanya nini waweka mzee nani? You know, probably that's what happened. But in Nairobi, mzee angekuwa anajiongelesha huko nyumbani akisema unajua kwanza kuna mtu alinirekodi sana nimefutwa kazi. Right? But it just got me thinking because this guy, you can see he's literally apologizing because chances are amepashwa, right? But I've seen people who have recorded somebody and then somebody asked him, hey, you can't post that of me. It's like, my guy, this is my video. If you didn't want to be in the video, ungetoka, right? But in the public domain, especially with these glasses, the Ray-Bans, the Meta glasses, and now they're getting sleeker. I saw someone with some designer ones. I couldn't even tell that. You know, because those ones for Ray-Ban, you can see the shape, right? Wrong, you can't see the shape. They be putting this technology on, like, my guys, we are fucked, right? You know how, like, do you remember how Sonko used to record guys? Actually, I need to get this guy on this show so he can tell me how he was doing these recordings because we kwani ni douche nini hawezi jua kuna mtu ameweka simu hivi ana kurecord like but now it's all systems go. Now it's all systems go. I could be looking at you like this. In fact, now I don't even accept people who have glasses. Ukiingia kwa the other day Nyashinsky was doing a listening party, right? And all phones were put aside. I was like, but what are the glasses? What about the glasses? What if one guy in there has glasses in Dioivo? He'll just record the thing and leave, right? So now, honestly, I don't care you're blind, bitch. If you have glasses on, I'm not telling you nothing. But technology where it's going, gosh, I can't even. Because there's somebody who asked somebody yesterday, there's a professor who asked somebody I know that, what's the next, like, where is this device going? Like after, because, you know, you've seen the new iPhone, it's thin, you know. Fine, they'll give us just a kikaratasi and tell you your phone, just imagine it's there, you know. Like, where is this device going? Because I feel like in another 10 years or less, I won't be holding anything in my hand, right? So, anyway, how would you feel about people recording you in public? Are you okay with it? Does somebody need your consent to record you? Ama ushakubali, we are in 2025 and all systems go. Me, I'm telling you, the secret. Be vigilant, know where the cameras are at, and just be like this the whole time. Because people be funny. You know, because these ones who are trying to record a video and then they can see you behind there. And anyway, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this story of, you know, recording in public. You know, it's now a thing. We're here now. We're here, you know. You just never know who's recording you. You know, even that secret conversation you're like, anybody. Anyway, I'll be back next week with more crazy stories right here. And I'm going to have a special guest who'll be joining me, actually more than one. I want to ask you, who would you like to join me on Run the Tape? Hit me up in the comment section. And don't say Rono, she already said no. Well, she asked me for money. I don't have money to give somebody to be. Tunaweza lipa mtu kukaa kwa iPod. Si sahi. So, tell me somebody who won't ask for money.